I'm standing in a cold, driving autumn rain, and the world smells like wet earth and ozone. Our community pool is overflowing, not just full, but spilling over the sides in muddy torrents, bleeding down the slope our neighborhood is built on. It's a mess, but it's a deliberate mess. I know it, and the woman standing in front of me knows I know it. And there she is. Karen, head of our Homeowners Association, a position she wields like a queen holding court. She has a smug, satisfied smile plastered on her face, and it's protected from the rain by a ridiculously large, clear umbrella. Flanking her are two guys in yellow raincoats who look like they get paid by the scowl. "Party's over, David," she says, her voice a little too loud over the drumming of the rain. "What are you talking about? The drain's just clogged," I say, pointing toward the overflowing grate. "Give me 10 minutes. She cuts me off with a flick of her hand. "The drain is the least of your problems. The whole hill is unstable. We're shutting it down. For safety." She says the word safety like it's a weapon. If you're watching Karenology, you know this type of concern is never what it seems. And if you've ever had a neighbor like this, you might as well hit that like button now, because you know where this is going. Let me back up a little. This wasn't just any pool party. It was for my brother, Michael, a veteran. And more than that, it was a peace offering. We hadn't been on good terms for years, a stupid, stubborn argument that had grown into a wall of silence. He was finally coming home to visit, and this party, a small gathering for him and some of his old service buddies, was my way of saying, "I was wrong, let's fix this." Now, that chance was washing away in the mud. My hand tightens in my pocket, gripping the cold steel of my geological hammer. The hickory handle has a hairline crack in it, worn smooth over the years. It was my father's. I'd just been out on the slope an hour ago, taking samples before the rain got heavy. I'm a geologist. For 30 years, my job has been to understand what the ground is doing, and I knew, with absolute certainty, that this hill was as solid as a rock. "This hill is fine, Karen," I say, my voice low and steady. "I checked it myself." She gives me a look of pity, the kind you'd give a child who still believes in Santa Claus. "Oh, David, we have a professional report. It's far too dangerous." She gestures to her men, and they start unspooling yellow caution tape across the entrance to the pool area. One of the veterans, an old man with a VFW cap, just shakes his head and turns to leave. The hope I'd seen in his eyes just an hour ago was gone. "Your veterans can drown here before the party even starts," Karen adds, delivering the final blow with a triumphant gleam in her eye. "We're saving your lives." Have you ever had someone lie to your face with that much confidence? The kind of lie that's so outrageous, it makes you question your own sanity for a second. She turns and walks away, her umbrella a perfect, impenetrable shield. Her goons finish their work and follow, their boots squelching in the mud. I'm left standing alone, the sound of the rain and the sight of that ugly yellow tape burning into my memory. The party I'd spent weeks planning, the bridge I was trying to rebuild with my brother, it was all gone, wrecked for a reason that didn't exist. Later that evening, soaked and defeated, I sit at my kitchen table. The house is quiet. The rain has softened to a drizzle against the windows. An email notification pings. It's from the Homeowners Association. Subject: official notice of violation and fine. I open it. The words swim in front of my tired eyes. Attached is a 10-page geological report from a company I've never heard of. It's filled with fancy charts that mean nothing. Big words about soil saturation and vibrational stress from the pool pump. It's scientific-sounding garbage designed to scare people who don't know any better. And at the bottom, the punchline: a $2,000 fine for creating an imminent landslide hazard. My phone buzzes. It's Michael. I hesitate, then answer. "Heard what happened," he says, his voice flat. No sympathy. "You couldn't just let it be simple, could you, Dave? Always have to make it a fight." He doesn't wait for an answer. He hangs up. The silence in the room is heavier than the rain outside. And through the window, I see it. A single dark sedan parked across the street, its headlights off. Just sitting there in the growing dark. That single dark sedan sits across the street. A lump of shadow in the drizzling rain. No lights, no movement. It's just there. The only sound in my house is the low hum of the refrigerator. For a full 10 minutes, I don't move. I just watch it, feeling a cold knot tighten in my stomach. Is this for me? Or am I just being paranoid? In my line of work, you learn that the ground beneath your feet can hide things. Turns out, so can a quiet suburban street. Then, as quietly as it appeared, its lights flash on, slice through the rain for a second, and it pulls away from the curb, disappearing around the corner. I let out a breath I didn't realize I was holding. Maybe it was nothing, a visitor for a neighbor, a lost driver. But the feeling of being watched doesn't go away. It sticks to you like wet clothes. The next morning, the war moves online. Funny thing is, a fight doesn't start with fists anymore. It starts with a notification, a little red dot on the neighborhood's social media app. Someone, an anonymous account named Concerned Homeowner, has posted a link to Karen's bogus geological report. The post reads, "Is anyone else worried about this? The Homeowners Association report says the whole hillside could go. My insurance company is already reviewing our policy." That last sentence is a lit match tossed into a dry forest. The comments explode. Panic spreads faster than any landslide ever could. "My agent just called me," one person writes. "Premiums could go up 40%. "We could lose our coverage entirely," another chimes in. I try to intervene. I post a calm, logical breakdown of why the report is fraudulent. I talk about soil composition, shear strength, the specific type of bedrock we're sitting on. I explain that the only vibrational stress from the pool pump would be if it were trying to shake the whole planet loose. I am a professional. This is what I do. It's like trying to put out a fire with a water pistol. The replies are brutal. "Here comes Mr. Scientist telling us not to believe our own eyes," someone sneers. "He just wants his pool party," another says. My 30 years of experience are dismissed in favor of a slick, fear-mongering PDF file. In less than an hour, I'm not the neighborhood expert. I'm the villain, the reckless guy willing to risk everyone's homes for a few beers with his friends. The truth doesn't stand a chance against a good story, and Karen had a great story. I know I can't win this war with comments and posts. I need to fight on a different front. This isn't just about a fine or a party anymore. This is about people's homes, their life savings, being threatened by a lie. I need to know who is behind this, and why. Karen is the face of it, but that report, that sedan, this feels bigger than her. I need help. Not a scientist, but someone who understands the other kind of landscape. Property, ownership, the quiet currents of money that flow through a town like this. I think of Martha. She's the top realtor in the area, knows every house, every sale, every secret. I've known her for years, done some consulting for her on tricky lots. She's always been sharp, friendly, straight as an arrow. I give her a call. The line is staticky. The storm's still messing with the connection. "David, I heard what happened at the pool. Awful business," she says, her voice oozing sympathy. "Karen's on a power trip again." "It's more than that, Martha," I say, keeping my voice low. "Someone's trying to devalue the properties on this hill. I was wondering, could you discreetly check if there have been any unusual sales or offers around here recently? Any shell companies buying up land?" There's a slight pause on her end. "That's a dark thought, David, but you know what? I'll look into it, just for you." She sounds like a true ally, a friend in my corner. "In fact," she adds, "I have some old zoning and development maps for this area from a few years back. Might give you some ammunition. I'll email them over." I hang up feeling a sliver of hope for the first time in 24 hours. Finally, someone who believes me, someone who can help. An hour later, her email arrives. The subject line is "Ammunition for you." I open the attached files. They're old scanned documents, just as she said. I zoom in on the detailed geological surveys from the original development. My heart sinks into my stomach. The maps are highlighted in certain areas, with notes in the margins. Notes that talk about potential shear zones and water table instability. According to these official-looking documents, the most unstable zone on the entire hillside is a perfect circle, right around the community pool. That perfect circle on the map stares back at me from the screen. It's a bullseye, and my house is right in the middle of it. The hope I'd felt after talking to Martha evaporates, replaced by a cold, metallic taste in my mouth. The documents she sent weren't ammunition for me. They were ammunition against me. This wasn't help. This was a warning, or worse, a trap. My first instinct is to call her back, to demand an explanation. But then I stop. What would I say? "Your maps confirm the lies Karen is spreading?" She just played dumb. "Oh, David, I had no idea. How terrible." No, This was a move in a game I was just beginning to understand. Someone wanted me to see this. They wanted me to feel cornered, to believe that even the history of this land was against me. I shut my laptop. The hum of the machine is the only sound, a low, buzzing nerve in the quiet room. I need to think. I walk over to the window that overlooks the hill. The rain has stopped, but the sky is a bruised purple gray. The yellow caution tape around the pool is a bright, ugly gash in the landscape. What would you do in that moment, when the proof you're given by a supposed friend only tightens the noose around your neck? I decide to do what I do best. I trust the ground, not the paper. The maps could be faked, altered, but the earth doesn't lie. I grab my gear, my cracked handle hammer, sample bags, a core sampler. I need my own data, undeniable and objective. I need a truth that can't be photoshopped. As I head out the door, my phone rings. It's a number I don't recognize. I almost ignore it, but something makes me answer. David? The voice on the other end is young, nervous. You don't know me. My name is Leo. I used to work for the company that wrote that report, Aquafix. My grip tightens on the phone. Go on. Listen, I can't talk for long. They fired me last week, said I was asking too many questions. He takes a shaky breath. That report is a sham, a complete fabrication. My boss, he made me change the data. The real numbers show the ground is stable, perfectly stable. Why are you telling me this? I ask, my voice barely a whisper. Because what they're doing is wrong, and because they're messing with stuff they don't understand. There's another pause. I can hear the sound of traffic in his background. Just be careful, man. The guy who owns Aquafix, he's connected to that new developer, Thorn, the one buying up everything on the outskirts of town. They're not just trying to close a pool. The line goes dead. Thorn, the name hangs in the air. Mr. Thorn, the charismatic shark who's been in the local paper, all smiles and promises of revitalization. Now, a piece of the puzzle clicks into place. This isn't about a Homeowners Association power trip. This is about land, big money. But Leo's call does something else. It confirms my gut feeling. The report is fake. And now, I have a name. Aquafix, Thorn. This isn't just a ghost hunt anymore. I have a target. With a new sense of purpose, I spend the next 3 hours on the hillside. I work methodically, ignoring the curious stares from neighbors peeking through their blinds. I take core samples from a dozen different locations, moving in a wide grid that covers the entire slope. I measure soil density, moisture levels, and check the bedrock depth. It's slow, painstaking work. The mud sucks at my boots, and a cold wind whips around me. As I'm bagging the last sample, a sheriff's department car pulls up quietly to the curb. Karen gets out of the passenger side, a triumphant smirk on her face. A deputy, a big man with a weary expression, walks toward me. "Sir, I'm going to have to ask you to step away from the restricted area," he says, his voice polite but firm. "This isn't restricted, deputy. It's common property," I counter, trying to keep my cool. "Ma'am here says you're tampering with a hazardous zone," he says, gesturing toward Karen. "She's filed a complaint, says you're trying to destroy evidence." "Destroy evidence?" I almost laugh. "I'm a geologist, deputy. I'm collecting evidence. The only hazard here is that woman's imagination." Karen steps forward. "He's unstable, officer. Look at him, digging holes like a madman. He's going to cause a collapse and then blame us." The deputy looks from her to me, then back to the holes in the ground. He looks tired of this whole drama. "Sir, I don't want to, but if you don't leave the area, I'll have to cite you for trespassing." I'm standing there, covered in mud, holding bags of dirt that hold the truth. And I'm being treated like a criminal. Defeated, I gather my equipment and walk back to my house, the deputy's warning echoing in my ears. As I reach my front door, I glance back. Karen is talking animatedly to the deputy, pointing at the holes I dug. But it's not Karen I'm watching. It's the car parked behind the sheriff's vehicle. It's the same dark sedan from the night before, and in the driver's seat, I see a man's silhouette. He's just watching me. He lifts a hand in a slow, deliberate wave, a gesture that feels less like a greeting and more like a threat. He knows I see him, and he doesn't care. That slow, mocking wave from the man in the sedan sends a chill down my spine that has nothing to do with the autumn air. This is an escalation. They're not just watching anymore. They're making sure I know I'm being watched. It's a classic intimidation tactic. meant to make me feel isolated and powerless. For a moment, it works. I stand on my porch, the cold metal of my front door handle under my hand, and feel a wave of pure, unadulterated anger. They think a little scare tactic is going to make me back down. They don't know who they're dealing with. I spend the entire night in my garage, which I've long ago converted into a makeshift lab. The smell of damp earth and motor oil fills the air. Under the harsh glare of a single fluorescent light, I analyze the soil samples. I run tests for compaction, water content, and composition. It's tedious, exacting work, but it's familiar territory. It's a world of facts and data, a world where opinions and lies don't matter. By 3 a.m, I have my answer. The data doesn't just suggest the hill is stable, it screams it. The soil composition is a perfect mix of clay, silt, and sand. The bedrock is solid granite, less than 15 feet down. The moisture levels are completely normal for this time of year. Karen's report claimed the ground was like a wet sponge. My data shows it's more like a brick. There is absolutely unequivocally no geological reason for that pool to be closed. The threat is a complete fabrication. The next day, I draft a detailed counter-report, complete with my own charts, data tables, and a step-by-step refutation of every claim made in the Aquafix document. I email it to the entire Homeowners Association board, attaching a note that reads, "Here is the actual science. I expect the pool to be reopened and the fine to be rescinded immediately." For a full day, there's nothing but silence. The neighborhood social media page goes quiet. The usual chatter from Karen's supporters dies down. I allow myself a small, cautious flicker of hope. Maybe the facts are enough. Maybe the truth will finally cut through the noise. Have you ever been in that quiet moment, that pause in the middle of a fight, where you think you might have just won? That hope is shattered the following evening. I'm walking back from the grocery store when I see it. A work crew is at the base of the community pool, but they're not cleaning the drain. They're installing a new one, a much larger industrial-grade drainage pipe. And next to them, directing the work, is a man I recognize from newspaper photos. Impeccably dressed in a tailored suit, even while standing in the mud, Mr. Thorne, the developer. He sees me coming, and a wide, predatory smile spreads across his face. He walks over to meet me, extending a hand. I don't take it. "David, just the man I wanted to see," he says. His voice is smooth as polished stone. "I'm Arthur Thorne. I've been hearing a lot about you." "I'm sure you have," I reply, my voice flat. "I read your little report," he continues, ignoring my tone. "Very impressive, very thorough. But, you see, you and I are looking at this problem from 2 different angles. You see a stable hill. I see an opportunity." He gestures to the work crew. "We're fixing the problem, on our own dime, a gesture of goodwill to the community." That's when I notice the detail that makes my blood run cold. They haven't just clogged the old drain. They've completely destroyed it. They've sledgehammered the concrete around it and are now fitting a new pipe that leads not to the municipal storm drain, but directly into the creek at the bottom of the hill, a creek that runs through a protected wetland area. "You can't do that," I say, the words catching in my throat. "That's a direct violation of county environmental codes. You'll destroy that ecosystem." Thorne's smile widens. He leans in closer, his voice dropping to a conspiratorial whisper. "That's the beauty of it, David. The Homeowners Association already approved it. Emergency measure, you see, to prevent the landslide. By the time the county inspectors get around to noticing, the damage will be done. And who do you think they'll blame? The developer who generously fixed a problem? Or the rogue geologist whose unsafe party started this whole mess?" He's not just creating a lie, he's building a physical monument to it. He's creating a real environmental hazard to cover up a fake geological one, and he's setting me up to take the fall. He pats me on the shoulder, a gesture that feels more like a shove. "Sometimes, to build something new," he says, his eyes glinting, "you have to wash away the old. You, of all people, should understand that." He turns and walks back to his crew, leaving me standing there as the sun sets, casting long, dark shadows across the ruined landscape. My evidence, my science, my truth. It was all meaningless. He'd just changed the entire game board, and I was standing on the wrong side of it. I watched them work under the cold, white glare of portable floodlights, tearing up the earth. Thorne's move is diabolically brilliant. He's creating a real problem to make his fake one seem plausible. It's like setting a fire to prove you need a fire department. I'm no longer just fighting a lie on paper. I'm fighting a physical act of sabotage happening in plain sight. My scientific report is now worthless. What good are soil samples when a backhoe is actively redirecting a waterway? The next morning, the consequences arrive. An official from the county's Environmental Protection Division is at my door. He's a young man, earnest and overwhelmed, holding a clipboard like a shield. He explains that an anonymous tip led them to inspect the new drainage work. They've found chlorinated water from the pool is now flowing directly into the protected creek. It's a major violation. The Homeowners Association is blaming you, Mr. Miller, he says, avoiding my eyes. They claim you panicked about the landslide report and tried to drain the pool yourself, causing this mess. That's insane, I say, my voice tight with disbelief. I have a report proving the hill is stable. Thorne's construction crew did this. He shifts his weight, uncomfortable. Sir, Mr. Thorne's company has a permit for emergency erosion control. It was fast-tracked by the association. Right now, all the paperwork points to you causing the initial problem. My hands are tied. He hands me a notice. It's not just a fine anymore. It's a stop work order for any activity on my property and a formal summons for an environmental hearing. The potential fines are in the tens of thousands of dollars. It's a perfect trap. Thorne created the disaster, and I'm the one being held responsible. It feels like the walls are closing in, and every move I make just makes them close faster. Later that day, I see Martha, the realtor, at the local coffee shop. I walk over to her table, my heart pounding with a mix of anger and a desperate need for answers. The maps you sent me, Martha, I begin, keeping my voice low. They were doctored, weren't they? She looks up, her face a mask of practiced concern. David, I just sent you what was in the county archives. I had no idea. Stop, I interrupt, my patience gone. Just tell me why. What does Thorne have on you? For a second, the mask cracks. I see a flicker of fear in her eyes. You don't understand, she whispers, leaning forward. He's not just buying land, he's buying people. He knows things. He finds your weakest spot and squeezes. She looks around nervously. My business? I made a mistake a few years ago. A bad investment. He knows about it. If it got out, I'd be ruined. So that's it. Blackmail. Simple, dirty, and effective. She wasn't a traitor because she was evil. She was a traitor because she was trapped. He's going to destroy this whole neighborhood, Martha, I say. He'll get what he wants and leave you with nothing. He promised me a percentage, she says, the words tasting like ash in her mouth. A way out. I stare at her, and the anger drains away, replaced by a hollow kind of pity. She's just another victim. Another tool in Thorne's box. I turn and walk out of the coffee shop, the smell of burnt coffee and betrayal following me. My one potential ally was working for the enemy. I was completely and utterly alone. That night is the lowest point. I'm sitting in my darkened living room, the environmental summons on the table in front of me. The $2,000 fine from the Homeowners Association seems almost quaint now. I'm facing financial ruin, public disgrace, and the complete loss of my professional reputation. My brother won't speak to me. My neighbors think I'm a menace. Thorne has outmaneuvered me at every turn. I pick up my old geological hammer from the mantelpiece. The cracked handle feels cool and familiar in my hand. I think about my father. He was an honest man, a man who believed that if you did the work and told the truth, things would work out. What would he think of me now, cornered, defeated, and on the verge of losing everything? For the first time, I consider just giving up, selling my house to Thorne for whatever lowball offer he'd make, moving away and starting over. The thought is tempting. It's the easy way out. The pain would stop. And that's when I see it. It's a small detail, something I overlooked in my anger and panic. In the reflection on my dark TV screen, I see the light from my garage, but I also see a faint, almost invisible mark on the handle of the hammer, a smudge of something dark and greasy. It's not dirt. I always keep my tools clean. My mind flashes back. The mud, the work crew, Thorne patting me on the shoulder. Then another memory clicks into place. The night Leo called. He said they fired him for being too curious. And what he said next. They're messing with stuff they don't understand. And then I remember the man in the sedan, and Thorne's smug smile. He thinks he's playing chess, but he's forgotten one thing. You can't cheat geology. The ground always keeps a record. And as I stare at the smudge on my hammer, I realize Thorn made a mistake, a tiny, careless mistake, and it might just be the opening I need. The game wasn't over. It had just entered a new, far more dangerous phase. The smudge on the hammer is a greasy black residue. It's barely there, almost invisible. But I know what it is. It's hydraulic fluid. Not the kind you find in a passenger car, but the heavy-duty stuff used in industrial machinery, like a backhoe. Thorn must have brushed against my shoulder, leaving the faintest trace on my jacket, which then transferred to the hammer. It's a breadcrumb, a tiny, insignificant clue, but it's a start. My mind starts racing, connecting the dots. Leo's warning, Thorn's overconfidence, the illegal pipe. Thorn isn't just redirecting water. He's doing something else. Why go to all this trouble? Why create a real environmental problem just to secure a land deal? It doesn't make sense. The cost and the risk are too high, even for a shark like him. Unless the problem he's creating is also a solution to another, much bigger problem he already has. What if the water isn't the point? What if the ground is? I pull out my core samples again. I analyze them for stability, but I didn't run a full chemical analysis. I didn't have a reason to. Now I do. I spend the rest of the night running a series of spectrometric tests, searching for anomalies. And in the early hours of the morning, I find it. In one of the core samples, taken from the far end of the slope near an old, abandoned utility access road, I find traces of hydrocarbons, specifically industrial solvents and waste oils. It's an old contamination, buried for decades, probably from some long-forgotten workshop or dumping site. It's not enough to be a major hazard on its own, but it's there, a dirty secret hidden in the earth. Suddenly, Thorn's entire plan snaps into focus with terrifying clarity. He knows about the contamination. If he were to develop this land normally, he'd be legally required to perform a full environmental cleanup, a process that would cost millions and take years. It would torpedo his entire project. But what if the land was declared an unstable landslide zone? The state would have to step in. They would authorize emergency measures. And what's the first step in stabilizing a slope? Excavation. They would dig up and remove thousands of tons of that unstable soil, including the contaminated soil, and they'd do it on the taxpayer's dime. Thorn isn't trying to devalue the land. He's orchestrating a multi-million-dollar cleanup, disguised as a public safety crisis, and getting the government to pay for it. The overflowing pool, the fake report, the new drain pipe illegally dumping water, it's all designed to accelerate the erosion, to create visible proof that the hill is failing. He's not just trying to buy the land cheap, he's trying to get it laundered for free. I feel a surge of adrenaline, a clarity I haven't felt in weeks. I finally understand the game, and now I know how to beat it. Have you ever had a moment like that? When the whole complicated mess suddenly becomes simple, and you see the one single path forward? My first call isn't to a lawyer or the police. It's to my brother, Michael. I don't apologize or try to explain. I just say, I need your help. It's not about the party anymore. It's bigger than that, and I can't do it alone. There's a long silence on the other end of the line. I can hear him breathing. What do you need? He finally asks. The wall between us begins to crumble. My plan is risky. It's audacious. It might even be a little crazy. I can't prove the contamination with just one core sample. I need widespread data, and Thorn's trespassing complaint means I can't go digging holes all over the hill. But Thorn doesn't own the air. I call in a favor from an old colleague at the university, a man who owes me one from a project years ago. He has access to a drone equipped with a ground-penetrating radar system. It's normally used for large-scale geological surveys, but it will work just fine for a quiet little suburban hillside. The next day, Michael and I sit in my garage, watching the live feed from the drone on my laptop. It flies a precise grid pattern over the slope, its radar pulses mapping the subsurface. On the screen, the ground beneath us is rendered in shifting colors. Most of it is a uniform blue and green, indicating stable soil and rock. But then, at the far end of the slope, a dark, ugly plume appears on the screen, a deep, angry red, the contamination. It's larger than I ever imagined. It's a toxic stain spreading silently underground. We have our proof. It's not a document that can be forged or a witness who can be intimidated. It's a picture of the truth, buried 10 feet deep. But proof isn't enough. I can't just release this. Thorn would bury me in lawsuits, claim the data was faked. I don't need to just expose him. I need to spring the trap. and I know exactly where to do it. The Homeowners Association has called a mandatory information session for all residents. It's to be held in the school gymnasium on the evening of Veterans Day, the same day my party was supposed to happen. Thorne and Karen will be there to present their rescue plan and pressure the last few holdouts to sell. They think it's going to be their victory lap. They have no idea it's going to be their execution. The school gymnasium smells of floor wax and stale popcorn. It's packed. Nearly the entire neighborhood is here. Their faces a mixture of fear, anger, and resignation. On the stage, under the harsh lights, Karen is at a podium with Mr. Thorne seated behind her, looking calm and magnanimous, the picture of a concerned savior. Karen is in the middle of her speech, talking about civic duty and the unfortunate but necessary steps they must take. She points to a large screen behind her, showing a terrifying animation of houses sliding down a collapsing hill. It's the same junk science from her report, now turned into a horror movie. Mr. Thorne has generously offered to help us through this crisis, she says, her voice dripping with fake sincerity. His plan will ensure the safety and future of our community. That's our cue. The side doors of the gym swing open. I walk in, with my brother Michael at my side. Behind us are a dozen other veterans from the neighborhood, all in their VFW and American Legion caps. They're not carrying signs or shouting. They just walk in, silent and resolute, and line the back wall. Their presence changes the air in the room. The murmuring stops. Every eye turns to us. This meeting is for residents only, Karen sputters, losing her composure for the first time. I am a resident, I say, my voice ringing out in the sudden silence. And these men are my guests. It is Veterans Day after all, a day for honoring those who served. I believe they've earned the right to hear about the future of the community they fought to protect. Thorne stands up, his smile back in place, taking control. Of course, David, we're all neighbors here. Please join us. But I must warn you, we will not tolerate any more of your disruptive theories. I'm not here to share a theory, Mr. Thorne, I say, walking toward the stage. I'm here to share data. Michael connects my laptop to the projector. The scary landslide animation vanishes, replaced by the image from the ground-penetrating radar, a map of our neighborhood. This, I say, pointing to the screen, is what our hill actually looks like underground. The blue and green areas are stable soil and rock, as I've been saying all along. Thorne chuckles. Impressive graphics, David. What is this, a video game? No, I say, my voice dropping. It's a survey, and it also shows this. With a click, I highlight the angry red plume staining the corner of the map. This is a toxic chemical plume, industrial waste buried decades ago. It's been sitting under our feet this whole time. A wave of gasps and murmurs ripples through the crowd. Thorne's smile flickers. And here's the interesting part, I continue. Mr. Thorne's company bought the old, abandoned industrial lot next to this contamination site 6 months ago, a site that would cost millions to clean up. But he has a plan. He fabricates a landslide crisis, gets the state to declare an emergency, and then has the government pay to excavate and remove all this unstable soil and his toxic waste along with it. It's the most brilliant, cynical, and disgusting plan I've ever seen. Thorne is on his feet now, his face pale. This is slander! You have no proof! Don't I? I turn to the crowd. Have you ever been betrayed by someone you trusted? Someone who smiled to your face while they were getting ready to destroy your home for a profit? I look directly at Martha the realtor, who is sitting in the front row, looking like she's about to be sick. Then I make my final move. I've already sent this data, along with a full analysis, to the Environmental Protection Agency, but I also sent it somewhere else. I pull out my phone. I took the liberty of contacting the underwriting department of the bank that holds the loan on Mr. Thorne's other development projects. They were very interested to learn that one of their major clients is actively committing environmental fraud. I believe the term they used was unacceptable risk. I hit a button on my phone, and a man's voice, crisp and professional, fills the gym from a small speaker. It's Mr. Akins, the bank auditor. His voice is calm, but his words are devastating. He confirms that based on the evidence provided, the bank is freezing all of Thorne's credit lines and launching a full-scale forensic audit of his entire portfolio. The silence in the gym is absolute. Thorne looks like he's been punched in the gut. He opens his mouth, but no words come out. He sees the faces of the residents, no longer scared, but filled with cold, hard anger. He sees the veterans standing like sentinels at the back. He sees his whole empire, built on lies and intimidation, crumbling around him. My brother steps forward and places a clear plastic bag on the podium. Inside is a greasy rag he recovered from the back of Thorne's construction site. "This is hydraulic fluid," Michael says. "Same kind that was found on a piece of equipment used to intentionally damage the pool's old drainage system. Funny how things leave a trace." Thorne doesn't say a word. He turns and practically flees the stage, pushing past a stunned Karen and out a side door. The spell is broken. The fear is gone, replaced by the roar of an angry crowd. In the end, there was no dramatic court battle. Thorne's empire imploded. Faced with federal investigations and financial ruin, he was finished. Karen was voted out of the Homeowners Association in a landslide of her own. The pool was cleaned, the illegal pipe removed, and the hillside cleanup was eventually managed properly, with Thorne's seized assets paying for it. The victory wasn't without its cost. I was no longer just a quiet geologist. I was the man who had stirred things up, the man who had rocked the boat. Some neighbors would never look at me the same way again. But as I stood with Michael at the reopened pool a few weeks later, watching the veterans and their families finally have their party, I knew it was worth it. He handed me my old geological hammer, the one with the cracked handle. "You were right," he said. "Sometimes you just have to hit the rock and see what's inside." I took it from him. The weight felt good in my hand. It was a reminder that the truth is always there, right under your feet. You just have to be willing to dig for it. And sometimes you have to be willing to cause a landslide of your own to uncover it. If you've made it this far, maybe drop a comment and let me know what you think. It's good to know you're not digging alone.